on Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim, Hilchot Tefillin, and we're studying Siman Mem Gimel, and we're up to Seif Bet, on Daf Ayin Bet Amud Bet of regular prints of Mishna Berurah. Maran writes, "Betakise kavua haynu sheyesh bo tzoa vehu al penei hasadeh belo chafira." A betakise kavua, we have been speaking about what is considered a designated, a set betakise, and Maran writes, the definition of it could be as simple as having a place that people have already used for bowel movement, for excrement, and it's sitting there with having human excrement there visible. That is considered betakise kavua. The halachot that we have been discussing of not being able to go near it with tefillin and so on and so forth, you know, six feet away, 4 amot away, you take it off. All of those halachot that we've been speaking about is about betakise kavua, and this is the definition of it. The Mishna Berurah writes, "Velo chafira retzono lomar." This that says that it's al penei hasadeh, on the surface of the ground without being dug out, basically. Retzono lomar asarich lecholtzam b'richuk 4 amot. That is where the case is that Shulchan Aruch spoke about before in Seif Aleph, that you have to take off your tefillin 4 amot, 6 feet away, before you get to that area. But if he has a toilet hole, so to speak, which the excrements are going to be let down into this hole, then if the chafira is large enough and deep enough, it's considered a reshut la'atzmo, it's considered a domain by itself. And the area above the ground is going to be a separate domain. Then it's not considered betakise altogether. Siman Gimel. Seif Dalet it is, as we're going to discuss later on in Siman Gimel. Now it's important to note that the Kaf HaChaim writes over here that if the chafira, if the area that's dug out is in a secluded area, b'makom sagur, then all of that area is considered betakise kavua. If you have it in a room and it has the area that's dug out, the entire room is considered betakise kavua, because there is reach ra, there is bad smell that's going to be in the entire room from the excrement that's in the hole, and therefore it makes the entire room a betakise kavua. Now, what is the halacha with the bathrooms that we have? We have very sanitary, nice and clean betakise, and it's not so simple if it has the halachot of betakise. Now, the Gemara discusses a reality called betakise shel parsai. Persians were always known as very sanitary, clean nation, and several times in the Gemara praises their customs and their sanitary levels and so on. So one of which is this: betakise shel parsai. The Persians had a certain architecture, basically, of bathrooms, that it was built in such way that excrement would roll completely out 10 tfachim lower, and 4 amot away, it was completely would be taken to a different domain under the ground in a way that the bathroom would not smell. You didn't see ever excrement there. It was built in such way and designed in such way that excrements would be taken to a completely different area under the ground, which would be completely out of the vicinity of the bathroom above. Therefore, it did not smell. It was clean. And the Gemara says, betakise shel parsai does not have a halacha of bathroom. Now, it became a very big machloket acharonim in the poskim. They debated whether or not our bathrooms, which are flushed away also with water to a completely different area, as a piping and sewer and and basically washes them away to a different domain, maybe that's considered also betakise shel parsai. Or maybe you could argue not like that. You could argue that because our bathrooms are not automatically clean, if you don't flush or if the water doesn't work, the excrement stay there in the bowl of the stall, basically stays there. Unlike the betakise shel parsai, that the build was in a way that it could never ever hold in it any excrement. It would not hold any excrement. It would just go away. So Hacham Obadiah brings this in his tshuva, and he is of the opinion that halachically speaking, our bathrooms do not have the din, the halacha of betakise shel parsai, and therefore one should be still mahmir. Why? Says Chabad, even though that is very super clean, the way we have it is very sophisticated, but this has a spiritual aspect to it as well. When you build a place that is designated to hold human excrement, there is kochot atuma, there is ruach ra'ah that attaches itself to that place, and therefore, even though that when you flush, everything is clean and nice and no smells and beautiful, but because without flushing, it's an area that's built for holding human excrement, it is asur. That's what he holds. There are others who disagree with Chacham Obadiah, and they are willing to be mekel, that our bathroom is so clean that is considered not a problem, and at least outside the stall. For instance, Chacham ben Zion Abba Shaul alav shalom, he held that the area, the immediate cavity of the toilet stall is considered the dina betakise, but in the room outside of it, in the bathroom, what we call a private bathroom, and you have the room with the sink and whatnot, you could do netilat yadayim, he holds, in the sink right there, because the area outside of it is not considered a din of betakise. So you see that this could become actually very complex because of the nature. We know the Gemarot, we know about bathroom, but kavua. The question is, what we have, is this considered betakise kavua? Is it considered a designated place for human excrement? Or maybe it has this like established status of betakise shel parsai, and that's applicable to our bathrooms as well. So that's why it becomes a little bit more complicated. People who build houses and they want to design a washing station in their bathrooms, this is one of the things that they have to be, of course, mindful of. You make a surata petach between the bathroom and the washing station within the same room. Surata petach means you have basically like a lintel and two doorposts type of thing, like one of those modern dividing gateways without a door. Do you make such a thing, or do you make nothing? Or do you make it literally like a different room, as they used to do, 1 or 2 decades ago, that you actually open a door, you go to the washing station, then you open another door, you go to the bathroom, and this way you have the bathroom completely separated from the actual washing station. So maybe that is the halakha. Again, this is something that we have discussed in the beginning when we did the halachot of netilat yadayim. So you could ayin sham, you could refer to that. But nevertheless, it's something that we're going to be discussing some more of it in our Sugya Siman as well. So now, writes the Mishna Berurah, if you have a chafira, if you have this dugout, basically, that the excrement goes there in a different domain, then you could enter the betakise up above with tefillin on your head. But before a person urinates, for sure, according to everyone, you have to take them off. Just like any other betakise. So you cannot urinate with tefillin, but if you need to take some box of napkins to go to the bathroom and come out, if your bathroom is in such way that there's 2 different domains and the excrements are held in a different domain, then you could enter with tefillin on you even and take whatever it is that you need from there out, as long as you are not using the bathroom for urinating at that time. Ken masika magen Avraham. That's what magen Avraham wants. And that's only for going to the bathroom, using it for urinating. But if you're going for bowel movement, then you have to actually take it off 4 amot before, 6 feet away. Not only that, you have to take it before you go to the bathroom and hold it in your hands, which is mutar for urinating. Again, as long as it's covered and so on and so forth. We spoke about this in the Gemara. But for going to number 2, so to speak, you have to take it off 6 feet away. Perush. This that before we mentioned that you could actually urinate with having tefillin on you. That's in a place that there is no tzo'ah, there's no excrement. And also on top of that, there's 2 things you need. A, that there's no tzo'ah right there to make it beit hakiseh kavua. B, it's not even a place that people would use ever for beit hakiseh kavua for using number 2. Because as soon as it becomes a place that would be convenient for bowel movement, for using it for number 2, then we are concerned you're going to forget and sit to do number 2, and that becomes a problem. So therefore, you have to take it off. Therefore, we're not concerned, we're not worried, we don't make a gezerah that you're going to forget and urinating is going to turn into tzo'ah. That we're not concerned about, because now the place that is a comfort zone for people for using number 2. Even if it's a makom tzanua, even if it's found in a secluded area that you feel comfortable, but if it's not a place that's made for tzo'ah, then we're not concerned. You could urinate having tefillin even on. Yes. Well, if you're going to be using the bathroom, then you have to take it off 6 feet away. That's what he's talking about right now. If you're going to a place to urinate, you don't have to take it off 6 feet away. You can take it off right before and put it there. But if you are going to do number 2, then you have to take it off 6 feet away and put them away. You can't even come to the vicinity of a place that is made for tzo'ah and has excrement in it. Okay, so that becomes a very good question. It's actually one of the most common questions. What do you do in an airport? You have your talit bag. It's in your backpack or it's in your luggage, and you don't want to leave it outside because it's precious and people could steal it in a blink of an eye. So you want to take it in the bathroom with you. So what is the halacha? Is that considered beit hakiseh kavua? How about if I'm going only to the urinals, right? And so on. So here is the basic rundown of the halacha for that. A, based on what we just mentioned a moment ago of having a debate within the poskim as to whether or not our stalls are considered beit hakiseh kavua, or maybe, just maybe, is considered beit hakiseh sheparsai, which is clean, the Persian bathrooms. So that by itself is one machloket, one sad lakel, that maybe according to Rabbi Shlomo Yisraeli, others that are even more lenient than him, will be considered that this is not even a bathroom.
You would say that about the airport bathroom too?
So we're going to get to it in a second. So that's one. B, we mentioned before that Chobadia is lenient like this as well, that if you have a surata petach, if you have 2 doorposts and a lintel on top, that by itself is, it creates the reshut of its own. And therefore, Chacham Ovadia, for instance, says, if you have a surata petach, if you have this doorpost shape in your bathroom at home, and it divides between where the toilet is and where the washing station is, where the sink is, then you could do netilat yadayim, says Chacham Ovadia. So the bathrooms in the airports, to the best of my knowledge, also they have this situation of surata petach, because each one of them have the 2 beams on the side of the doors, one hinging on and one closing on, and in order to keep those 2 intact, they have the top bar that goes across the whole thing. So you have Surat HaPetach. So that's another kula for using it in that way. Now, the problem becomes the urinals. Now, if you're going inside, meaning that's for just bringing your thing inside the room. Of course, if you're going inside the bathroom, the actual next to the stall and sitting and taking your bag inside with the tefillin or your sfarim, then the Surat HaPetach does not help you. Surat HaPetach is entering your bag inside the room, right? Now the question is, what's the situation with urinals, right? Now, you have to understand that most of the airports, they have now above where the urinals are, they have built a stage which is a few feet high, certainly more than 10 tefachim high, and you can put your bags there. It's made for this, made for people to put their luggage in the bags there. For those who don't find it sanitary to put them on the floor of the bathroom. So the new airports, all of them basically have this, that where you stand for urinals, right on top of it, there is a stage which is like, this wide, goes across the entire area of your urinals, and you can put your bags there. Now, you benefit from putting the bags there because it's a different reshut, and we learned from the Rabbi Ali and Ben Ish Hai and others that they say if the sefer or the tefillin is on a different reshut, that already saves you from the problem of being exposed to erva and so on. So that is the second/third item to be mindful of. Now, the problem is the following: the urinals themselves, they are considered perhaps a beit hakiseh kavua, because even though that they're made only for urine, but if they're not cleaned well, it's going to smell horrible, and they have always residual dripping of thing next to them as well on the floor. So it's not that the whole thing goes away either. So it's a place that's designated for bathroom. So perhaps it could become even at some angle worse than the stalls when you have the urinals. Or if you enter the actual stall, which we have not solved that. So in those two cases, you come back to square one, basically. It's considered a bathroom here. Can you bring your tefillin in? So we learned in the previous Siman Mem and on, that if you have a double cover for your tefillin, one of which is not designated, is not kilyan, it's not designated for tefillin, it would be mutar to enter it to the bathroom. So you have a tefillin bag, which has perhaps also a plastic bag around it, but those two are not considered two covers because they're both kilyan, they're considered one cover. So if you have the tefillin bag in your hand and you want to enter the bathroom, not good. But if you have the tefillin bag in your luggage or in your backpack, which is not made for tefillin, it's not designated for tefillin, it's another cover on top of the cover of the tefillin itself, then it will be mutar to enter the bathroom. Still, you have to be careful to be respectful as much as possible. Don't drop it at the floor, but if need be, push comes to shove, which again, going to airport is one of those scenarios. If you have two covers like that, that would be completely mutar to enter the bathroom with the luggage or the backpack that contains the tefillin inside of it. So says the Mishna Berurah, ויש להחמיר לחלוץ בריחוק 400 מקום שרוצה לעשות צרכיו. If a person is going to be using number 2, then he should be mahmir to take them off actually 4 amot prior to it. Now, Maran writes in Seif Gimal, Beta Kiseh Arai, we talk about a temporary Beta Kiseh, and Maran explains, Hainu kegon la'ashtin ma'im she'en adam holech bishvilam lebeta kiseh. It's talking about when a person is urinating, and a person is in the time of Chazal, at least in the time of Shulchan Aruch even, People did not go necessarily, they didn't feel the need to go to the bathroom, to a designated place to urinate. They have bathrooms, they stood in a corner somewhere in the street or next to a tree, next to a wall, and that is considered betakise arai. It's not a designated place for bathroom, but rather is a place that you're using right now for the first time as bathroom. And this is the first time, so to speak, that this is becoming a betakise, and that's the definition of betakise arai, which Mishna Berurah writes, Perush hada amrinan le'el, when we before discuss the mutala ashtinbo betfilin sheverosho, that a person could actually urinate with having tefillin on them, on their head. That's only talking about the case that you're standing next to a wall somewhere, which is not a bathroom. But if you have a urinal, which is not for excrement, but it is considered a place designated for bathroom, that is considered betakise kavua, not betakise arai. So it's not a matter of urine versus soa, but it is the differentiation between whether or not this area is designated for bathroom or this area is not designated for bathroom. So therefore, there's no case really in which you could walk into a urinal and have tefillin on in order to urinate. That's would not be mutar nowadays. But what we learned in Shcharuch before, that's mutar to go to betakise arai, to a temporary betakise, to urinate, is talking about when you're making that place a betakise arai for the very first time in its history, because it's not a place made for bathroom. You're in a forest somewhere next to a tree, next to a wall. That's what we're talking about. But if you are using even a bathroom that was never used, it was just, the building was just built. Nobody has ever used this urinal for bathroom. And now for the very first time you're using it, can you do it with a tefillin? That becomes now a betakise kavua. It's a hazmana that was prepared for this. And even if you say hazmana is not miltahi, now at this very time that you're using it, this moment this became a betakise kavua. It's no longer a corner of a wall somewhere next to the tree, but rather this moment this became a bathroom now. And therefore, a betakise kavua you should not be using for urinating for bathroom, and that's something that again is important to keep in mind. Now, in betakise arai you can, but the question is, what is considered betakise arai? So Shcharuch says betakise arai means you are for the very first time using this place for bathroom, and it's not a designated bathroom. It's of a corner of a wall somewhere, or next to a tree somewhere. It's not a bathroom built for bathroom. But if you build something for bathroom and you're using it right now, even though that you're using it for the first time, but now it became a betakise kavua. It's a place designated for betakise, and therefore it would be asur. Let's just finish this Mishna Berurah. Betakise tchila, ayin b'fri megadim, svira le the high lishna lav davka. This that says that you've made this a betakise for the first time, Pri Megadim says is not the exact language. The afilu miyuchad mikama zmanim laashtin mikol makom arai yechasher. It says even if people have designated a time, and again in different scenarios, as the bathroom is still considered a betakise arai because it's not a place miyuchad built for betakise. It's a place that, okay, so you go behind the tree somewhere and do it. So even if you're not the first person to have done that, still is not considered a betakise. And Bezat Hashem, some details of this we will discuss in the days to come.